Hi, Mansi.
Hi, Aishwarya. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good as well.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Welcome to yet another live of the Unstereotype series with Lakshmi. I'm Aishwarya, and today we have with us Mansi Chaudhary from Pink Legal, who's an advocate and founder of Pink Legal, India's first platform that is dedicated specifically for women's rights and laws. Mansi, it's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for being part of our campaign.
Thank you so much, and it's my pleasure to be a part of your campaign. And you all are doing wonderful stuff, so keep it going. And hi,
Thank
Kashi.
you. Hi. So, for those of y'all who have joined us now, we've been running a campaign called Unstereotype with Lakshmi through the month, where we've had a series of panels, live discussions, and masterclasses with women who've been telling the incredible stories and sharing a lot of learnings with us, which would help, the youth today in their personal and professional growth. And Mansi today is here with us to share six rights and laws that every woman must know in India. So, Mansi, let's start.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, first things first, since Pink Legal, why Pink Legal?
So why Pink Legal is because as a lawyer and as a woman, I realized that there is a huge gap between laws and awareness about laws among women. And we had conducted a survey among urban educated women and found that 90% of them don't know their legal rights. Plus, I had a
Wow.
personal experience which kind of made me understand where I had to go to the police station to file a complaint. And this personal experience made me understand firsthand how intimidating it can be for somebody to go, for a woman to, go to the police station and access her legal rights. And often going to the police station is the first step towards accessing legal
Right.
rights. So this, combination of all these factors made me, really strongly believe that we need a digital platform which sort of explains to women all the legal rights under different areas on one single platform and in a language which is easy to understand, as if your friend is, explaining things to you. Because what happens is legal language is very complex, it's full of
Right.
jargon, and it is very alienating and intimidating to anybody who doesn't know law. So we wanted to remove all these barriers of accessing law and make law more accessible to women.
Right. Right. So, you take up a lot of questions on your forum, right? Based on, different legal queries. So, what are the key topics that come up? Like, what are the key questions that come up?
So yeah, we do. So we have a section on our website called Legal Services, where women can go and ask us legal queries, and we answer these queries for free. And it's been a year now that we've been doing this. And over a year, the pattern that I have noticed, which really surprised me personally initially, was that most of the questions are about domestic violence or violence at home. So more than 60 to 65 all questions are about queries are about domestic violence. And out of these queries, again, out of the domestic violence queries, about I think 90% of them are about domestic violence by husband or in-laws, and the remaining few would be about domestic violence from own family members. So
Right.
that is a key area where we get a lot of legal queries. And the second is property rights and marriage and divorce. So
Okay.
us understand that these are the three main legal issues that women in India seem to be facing.
Yeah. And it's very surprising that the number is so high, first of
Can't
all.
hear you 1 second.
Oh, you can't.
Yeah, my volume is full.
Can you hear me now?
No. Can the audience hear us? Is it the problem at my end?
Am I audible?
Should I leave and join back?
Uh, okay, because I can hear you.
Okay, 1 second. Let me connect it to a speaker or something. I just can't hear. Oh, wait, I'll just leave and join back. I think I can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, this is better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mansi, I was asking, first of all, it's very surprising that the number is so high that, around 65% of the cases are on domestic violence. But do you think that being financially independent plays a huge role when it comes to these cases, especially for the women?
Yeah, definitely. Because also what we've noticed in a lot of, one second, I'm so sorry, this stand is just falling. I'm just gonna hold it. Yeah. So what we've noticed in a lot of cases is that women are not able to take, so we guide them on what they can do and how they can take action against domestic violence, what are the legal steps that they can take. But they're not able to take these steps because they are financially dependent on the abuser. Because in most of the
Right.
cases, the abuser is the husband or in-laws, and most women are not financially independent and dependent on these people. So, which is why, they cannot take action. So, obviously, like financial independence is one of the most, I think I cannot stress enough on this. Like, it's one of the most important things that women should work towards. It doesn't matter whether you're, even if you have a really, really supporting family, just being
Yeah,
financially independent makes you feel empowered, right?
right. And you're always prepared for the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can really live life on your own terms without somebody else dictating them to you.
Exactly, exactly. That's the reason why at Lakshmi we are pushing women, to take charge of their own finances so that they know where they can go, right? Like they know how they want to lead their life.
Yeah.
Right. So, uh, coming to the reason why we are here today, the 6 rights and laws that every woman should know, right? So, let's start with the topic that you wanted to share the most, sexual harassment, right?
Yeah.
So, sexual harassment, see, what really constitutes sexual harassment? Because I'm sure it's not just one particular category, right?
So basically, sexual harassment, the common misconception that most people have is that sexual harassment is physical harassment. So if somebody is trying to abuse you physically, and even in physical harassment, they think that it has to be really forcible or aggressive.
Right.
But what we fail to realize is even a simple casual touch can also be sexual harassment, like somebody just tapping on your shoulder or like putting their hand on your thigh, even if it's not aggressive. If it is sexual in nature and unwarranted and without your consent, it is sexual harassment. So one is physical, which is obvious, and then there are also two other categories of sexual harassment recognized by law. The second one is verbal sexual harassment, which is basically spoken words. So any kind of words which cause sexual harassment, it could be so-called compliment, which is not really a compliment, like your lips are sexy, or asking a colleague how's your sex life when you don't have that kind of relationship with that person, or even when you just step out on the streets and you hear like these, people just catcalling or like calling you
Right.
names, etc. So all of
Or
that
just
constitutes
whistling,
verbal
maybe.
sexual harassment. Yeah. And then the third category is non-verbal, so which is basically, body language, gestures and body language, etc. Like if you've used public transport, you would have definitely noticed that some man is staring at you, and that is actually
Yes.
sexual harassment. And most women don't know this, that it's illegal. So staring at somebody or whistling at someone, so all of these are making like vulgar faces. So all this comes under non-verbal sexual harassment. So there are three categories of sexual harassment which every woman, every man, everybody should be aware of.
Right. So, what should one do in such a case?
So if it is, it really depends on what kind of sexual harassment it is. So if it is, like physical or verbal sexual harassment, obviously the first remedy for everything is to go and file a police complaint. And to file a police complaint, I would say you don't have to go with any evidence. You can always go and just make a note of the complaint. But if you're able to collect evidence in that situation, it will obviously help you to strengthen your case. So just be alert, and if you can, whatever you can gather, right, like that person's maybe number plate, or how that person looks, or maybe if they're carrying some particular office bag, that that person works in that office, or in a lot of metros and all, you have CCTV. So make a note of
Right.
like what time and location it happens, that the police can actually track it down. So just be very alert and make a note of these simple details, which will really help you to make a case stronger. And if sexual harassment happens at the workplace, then apart from police complaint, you also have the remedy of going to your internal complaints committee. So every
Right.
company which has more than 10 employees of any gender is required to set up an internal complaints committee under the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, which is the POSH Act, which is commonly known as. And if your company does not have one, then please insist on them putting one in place. And if your company
Right.
does have one, just make sure that you are aware of the functionings and how to approach them in case of an issue. Hopefully you should never be in that situation, but if you even know somebody who is facing it, it's always good to be aware of what are your redressal mechanisms.
Right. Mansi, all of us are really trying to push a gender neutral society, right? But do these laws are applicable only to women, or are these laws even applicable to men, or maybe, people from the transgender community?
So that's a good question, actually. So all of the the main criminal law of India is called the Indian Penal Code, and sexual harassment is made illegal and criminal under the Indian Penal Code.
Right.
So it's also called IPC. So IPC defines all sexual crimes as crime by a man against a woman. These are definitely not gender neutral, but you have other laws like the Information Technology Act, which is gender neutral, and that can cover online harassment or cyberbullying. So there you have, so this is gender neutral. And then you can have internal, like, companies can have their own policies for anti-sexual harassment. So these can be gender neutral. But the criminal laws are all male against female harassment. And transgender, so we have an act called the Transgender Protection Act, which was passed in 2020, and that protects transgender persons from any kind of violence, including sexual violence. So they are protected under that.
Oh, that's great. And now coming to domestic violence, like you said, it's one of the highest number of queries that you have. So what do we do about it?
So you mean like what are the remedies against domestic violence? Or as a society?
If you want to file a case against domestic violence, how do you go about it? Or, even for that matter, I read somewhere that, even if your spouse refuses to support you financially, that also comes under domestic violence. And I was really surprised to read that, because the misconception is that domestic violence is only when, it's an abusive relationship. Physically.
Right. So basically, domestic violence again is of 4 types, and I think most people are not aware of this fact. Obviously, physical violence, everybody thinks that that's the only form of domestic violence, but emotional abuse also is a form of domestic violence. So you have physical violence, you have emotional abuse, which is, like insulting, humiliating, or like taunting, all of that. Then you have financial abuse, which is basically when one of the partners is basically the woman, when she is not financially independent, or she doesn't have a financial source of income, and if the partner, the husband, is not supporting her by providing her maintenance or whatever amount it takes to live a normal life, that is financial abuse, and that's a form of domestic violence. And sexual abuse is also a form of domestic violence, where you're forcing sexual acts upon your partner.
Okay.
So these are the 4 types of domestic violence. And what one can do if is one is a survivor or a victim of domestic violence, the first remedy is to file a police complaint, as is for most of the issues. So file a police complaint in the nearest police station. And actually, we've explained all of this on our website, Pink Legal, under the section Know Your Rights. Because if somebody needs to file a police complaint, we also have a draft of a police complaint which they can just download, and they can just fill in their details and take it to the police. Because it's important to file a strong complaint, so that you have better chances of getting a good result. So file a police complaint in the nearest police station. That's your first remedy. And the second remedy is you can always file a case in court as well. There are special women courts and there are family courts where you can file a case for domestic violence. But that is a very tedious and cumbersome process, plus expensive because you need to hire a
Right.
lawyer. So it's always faster to go to the police station.
Right. And also, this may not necessarily be only, for your partner. It can also be if in case of a parent as well, parent or, a family member.
Yeah, the Domestic Violence Act applies. It protects all women. So it's only for women. So it protects all women, no matter your age or your marital status. It protects you from violence from any family member who you are sharing a house with. So you should be living with this person. And it could be
Okay.
your own family, like parents, siblings, aunt, uncle, or it could be anybody else, like your, spouse, their family, your in-laws, brother-in-law, sister-in-law. So you should just be sharing a house with this person.
Oh, okay. So now you touched upon, filing a police complaint. One thing that, I've always come across is that there's a big confusion between a police complaint and an FIR. Are
Yeah.
both the same or is there a difference?
No, they're not the same. And we have like an entire section on this on our website under Know Your Rights, where, the police complaint section, where I would advise everybody after this talk to like just go read it and become, like just understand it in more detail, but I'll explain in brief. So police complaint is basically like how if you have to go and complain to your teacher that, teacher, this person did this to me today. So that is basically police complaint, where you go to the police and you tell them what happened, like what your complaint is. And it can be in oral form or written form. If it's an oral, then they will write it down for you, or you can submit a written complaint. Once
Right.
the police take the complaint, then they will sort of investigate into it. They do preliminary investigation, unless it's a very serious offense, like, rape or like grave sexual assault. So once they investigate into it, then the police will file an FIR, which is basically the police's way of acknowledging that, this is so and so complaint has come and this is what the sections are and this is the first report of that. So FIR is what the police will lodge. Police complaint is what you will go and give to the police.
Oh, okay. And when something happens, we go to the police or, they help us out. But then what if the police does something that is against our rights? So what are our rights when it comes to, the police?
So see, on paper we do have rights. Like if obviously when you go to the police station to file a complaint, they have certain designated constables or certain seniority of officers who take. They are not then you can always go and complain to a higher official, like the superintendent or the station house officer. And you can file a complaint to them saying that, this is the complaint that I had given and they are refusing to note down my complaint. So
Right.
you do that. And if you still don't get any response, then you have to file a case in court, in the criminal court, asking the magistrate to direct the police to do their duty and to sort of take down your complaint.
Right. And also there are certain rights specifically for women when it comes to the police, right?
Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
just touch upon a couple of basic rights which women should generally be aware of. One is that a woman can't be arrested post sunset and before sunrise. So after 6 p.m. and before 6 a.m. And
Okay.
then if police have to sort of what do you say, like question you or ask you to step out of your car or anything like that, there always has to be a female constable over there. So if there is no female constable, you can refuse and you can, ask for one to be present. So these are a couple of basic rights that everybody should know. And they cannot call you to the police station for questioning you. They have to come to your house. For example, they need to question you about some case, you're a witness, or maybe it's your case itself. So they have to come to your house at a reasonable hour and question. So these are a few basic rights, but we have obviously listed them in more detail on our website. So, if anybody wants, they can go and check it.
Right. And you said another topic, one other query which is quite regular on your forum is on property and inheritance rights.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you tell us something about that?
So the main and most interesting or inconvenient part about property and inheritance rights is it depends on your religion. Each religion has its own rights, and based on that, your property rights will be determined. So I'll just speak briefly about the Hindu property rights, because I guess that will cater to majority of the audience here. So under Hindu law, since 2005, daughters have equal right to inherit parents' property as the sons. So before this, women didn't have the right to inherit property, but now you can. So in fact, this is also a question that we face, a lot on our website, a query that we get, that the brothers don't want to let the sisters inherit any property from their parents' property.
Even today.
Yeah. Or that parents themselves don't want to give their property to their daughter.
Right.
So, what can they do? So they can always ask for their rights. They can ask for a partition, I'll not get into those details. They can always refer to our website to get into those details. But it's important to know that daughters have the same right to inherit property as the sons, equal, completely equal under Hindu property rights. And second is about Stridhan, which all women should know. Basically, whatever is a woman's property like cash, jewelry, or any other possessions, any property that you may have purchased. So all of that is your Stridhan, and only you have rights over your Stridhan and nobody else does. So even during marriage, whatever gifts that you get in your name, so all of these are your Stridhan. And keep them with you. You don't need to hand it over to anybody else like your in-laws or your husband. And this is something that will keep you financially secure. So that is another thing that everybody should do.
That's great. And you touched upon cyberbullying earlier. So are there any specific rights for women also when it comes to cyberbullying? Or is it generic?
So cyberbullying, there are two, three laws that address it. One is the Indian Penal Code, and then you have the Information Technology Act. So Information Technology Act is the IT Act. It's gender neutral, so it protects everybody in the same way. And IPC obviously gives extra protection to women. So a lot of things are illegal actually, like for example, online stalking. So, when you're tracking somebody's behavior, like somebody's, you're tracking them online or following them or all of that. So online stalking is a crime under Indian Penal Code. Then you have voyeurism, which is a very important crime and which most women, face, which is basically if somebody is kind of recording a private photo or video of you without your consent. So that is called voyeurism. It's one of the ways of voyeurism, and that is a crime under the Indian Penal Code. Then threatening to share someone's private pictures is also, again, a very common problem. And that also is, illegal. So even the IT Act and the Indian Penal Code both make it illegal. So even if you shared pictures yourself, because, nowadays we all interact over social media and a lot of we share pictures of ourselves, private pictures. So, and then when things go bad, the other person ends up blackmailing and trying to extort. So this kind of blackmail and extortion is actually illegal. So even if you share it yourself. So these are the three things that, women must remember. And if you are facing something like this, the first thing to do obviously is to report it to the social media platform. First thing. Second is always collect all the evidence, like, screenshots of whatever this person is blackmailing you with. And don't be scared to go and complain. So you have, in most metro cities, you have a separate cell called cyber cell or cyber
Right.
police who are there just to address these complaints. So if your city has one, go and file a complaint with them, because only if you file a complaint you will have at least some chance of getting redressal. Because once you file a complaint, so once I was attending this talk by the Hyderabad police on these kind of issues, and they said something very interesting, which is, if you don't, like, a lot of women hesitate to file a complaint, and that ties down the police's hands, because unless you do that, they cannot
They
investigate
can't.
or direct anything to that person. But the minute you file a complaint, the police have the power to go and demand that person to submit all their devices, to issue a warning, to extract whatever they need to. So filing a complaint is very important. That's why I'm stressing on it again and again. And that is the first step that you should take, like once you report it to social media, and keep all the evidence that you can.
Right. And this is applicable if someone sends inappropriate images to you as well.
Yeah, of course. That will again also count as sexual harassment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the sixth right or law that we want to cover today is on divorce. So maintenance and alimony. What are the specific rights that we should know?
So basically, very briefly, maintenance and alimony are two different things. Maintenance is an umbrella term, and maintenance can be during marriage. Like, for example, a woman is not financially independent, so her husband is giving her monthly X amount of income so that she can, support herself. So that is also maintenance. Or you can have maintenance if you're having, going through a divorce. Then during the divorce proceedings, because obviously it takes time, 2 to 3 years. So money paid at that time for financial support is also called maintenance. And then after
Okay.
you sort of get the divorce, then any money that is paid for financial support is called alimony. So alimony is basically maintenance after marriage, and anything before that is maintenance in general. So one is that, and secondly, maintenance is a very, very subjective issue. So there is no fixed rule on how much maintenance will be granted, or whether a woman will be granted maintenance or a man will be granted maintenance, because the court primarily looks at what are the financial capacities of both partners over here, and who is in need of financial support. So it's not by rule that women will get it from their husbands. But of course, if you're not financially, earning, then you will. If you are, then the court will consider both the cases, that how much are you earning, how much is this person earning, like your husband earning, and is your income sufficient for you to sustain yourself, or do you need additional support from the husband or ex-husband? So all of these issues are considered when the court looks into maintenance.
And in case of, children being involved?
So it depends on which parent gets the custody. Usually the mothers are given the custody in most cases, but not as a rule. And obviously then the maintenance is paid for the children. That is separate. So maintenance to the spouse is separate, and maintenance for the children is separate. So, then the court may ask both parents to give maintenance for the children, or they may ask one parent to give. So it is really subjective based on case to case.
Okay.
So,
Thank you
I mean,
so much.
yeah, I see it might sound a little confusing, especially all of this stuff about maintenance, but you can go to our website and we have explained it. So if somebody is actually going through this, then that, I think it will really help them out to just go through it in a casual,
Yeah, I mean, because during the divorce proceedings, and especially when children are involved, what I've always seen is, the mother gets a custody, but there's always a big question about the alimony, whether it's going to come or not, or how much is going to come, and whether
yeah,
the
so
kids are minors or they are older.
yeah. Sorry, I got a call and I couldn't hear what you were saying.
No, I was just saying that, even when kids are involved, there's always a debate when it comes to, minor kids, or, kids who are a little older
Yeah,
than the
correct.
age of 18.
Yeah. So it's very, very subjective. And can't put down a single rule for it, but obviously the parent who has custody of the children, the other parent will have to pay some amount for towards the children's maintenance, because both parents are equally held responsible for that.
Okay. Okay.
So if anyone has any further queries which they may want to ask us, they can obviously ask us on our website, like on the legal query section, because I can see that there are quite a few queries in the chat, but we won't be able to answer them right now. But you can always ask us through our legal query form.
Thank you so much, Mansi. It was great talking to you. And like we said, we are here to unstereotype and help you take charge of your own life.
Thank
So,
you so much, Aishwarya. It was a pleasure being here, and keep up the good work and encouraging women to become financially independent.
yeah, thank you, Mansi. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. We hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Bye.